Welcome back to the Alternative Highs podcast, the number one podcast in Southwestern Ontario. Today's guest is Jeff Gutler. We got chatting on Facebook. I'm inboxing people constantly, talking. I want to interview, and I happened to see your picture, and I seen like cars, race cars. I didn't know exactly, and it was a story. And when we were messaging, you had said that you worked with my gramps, who worked at Buxton.
South Buxton, yeah.
So that right there made me think. I was like, man. So if you start out like in a smaller group area,
right. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how to describe this, but I noticed that you were flying all over North America.
We get around.
So maybe explain to me what it is you do, and then we'll break it down after that.
So currently, and I say currently because it's been, I've been spotting now race cars for almost 30 years. And just like anything else, with anyone else, you kind of work your way up. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm... last year I worked with 11 different teams. So that encompasses everything from the upper end of NASCAR Cup through Xfinity, through trucks, and then of course through some of the late model series, IMSA, sports cars. And then I also been doing one-offs with IndyCar for the last 3 years, only because at Indianapolis for the 500, you use 2 spotters. So they always bring in an extra spotter. So I'm very fortunate enough to be able to work that event the last couple of years for Arrow McLaren.
What's a spotter do?
So basically a spotter, regardless of what what series you're doing, you're kind of, the simplest way is that you're the eyes and ears for the driver. And what a lot of guys will say is you're kind of painting the picture of what's going on. Initially, when spotters are mandated years ago, it was just kind of a safety thing, and which rightfully so it should be. But now it's kind of morphed into now if you can assist the driver as far as lanes or where we're giving up time or where we're picking up time or what other guys are doing, and then also assist the crew chief on what other guys are doing on pit road when we're doing pit stops. So it's really kind of evolved from that to... there's a lot of different aspects to it.
And that's really cool. Like, to the fact that you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to you. I'm going to put a pin right here.
Okay.
Where did you start? How does a spotter start his career in... Can we just be general and race car?
I can remember the first time. So, going way back, I was working for Scott Mahalko at SN Freight.
Yes.
Long story short, I got him and DJ Kennington together. And Scott had some, back then it was Hooters Pro Cup cars, and we were heading to South Boston, Virginia. And I can remember, like it happened yesterday, we stopped at the Myers in Toledo, the very first exit in Toledo, and we just DJ and I were talking. He said, "Hey, I'm going to need a spotter. Can you spot for me?" Okay. So I can remember my very first race was a Hooters Pro Cup race at South Boston, Virginia. Gosh, I can't remember the year. But was my very first race.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
So how did that morph into being local? Like, is that a full time?
So no, that still isn't a full time. But it's just like anything else. You've got to network yourself. You really have to network. Spotting, and I've always said it to other people, it's kind of business within a business.
Yeah.
So you have to network yourself real well.
And working with 11 different guys.
Well,
it
is, and everything, like there's a big difference, and I'll use, say, the open wheel side to like the Fender NASCAR type cars, just how you talk and the different verbiage you use. Because I know some of the guys that have come over, like from NASCAR to the IndyCar side, they will use the same language that you would use on that side, and the driver has no idea what he's talking about. Yeah. You really have to break it down. And it also, the other way that you have to approach it is, are you spotting for a veteran? Or are you spotting for a kid that's just up and coming? It's just how you approach everything.
How would you? Can you work across like 11 different people? That's obviously a different. What
Different approach, and I'll use and it just now. I just come from a test. We were in Nashville on Monday and Tuesday.
Yep.
And so it was for what they call Indy Next, which is, to put it in NASCAR terms, it's like the Xfinity Series is to Cup in NASCAR. Okay. So so it's a feeder series. So typically you don't have you're dealing with guys or girls that are just up and coming. So
okay.
Correct, yeah. So my approach to all that is pretty much the same, and I mentioned it to the our crew chief, our guy that I was dealing with the team. I'm not the guy that would get down on somebody like when we're changing lines. I will always say that's a good corner. That's good, rather than you got to do this, you got to do that. And I think my approach like that has served me well, and it always goes back to you can get more with honey than you can shit.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I think that's why I kind of bond having that approach with a lot of different drivers, because with different drivers everyone needs something a little bit different and likes stuff a little bit different, and it's you got to be flexible to try to mold yourself to whatever they want.
Now, in my head, I'm sitting here, I'm like, because there's so many different levels to this, like the talent of the driver is
correct. Yeah.
Would be extremely difficult to navigate through your eyes to their eyes.
Correct. Yeah.
So
I know what you're. So basically, and I'll use this weekend coming up. So I leave tomorrow morning, and I have a race. It's called an ASA National Series with Kyle Steckley, which is an up and coming driver that came from Milverton here and now running the US. So my approach to that is, on a typical weekend, we did a conference call last night. Myself, I haven't been to this track, but he tested there. So we went over stuff that we need to look for, just kind of go over the whole weekend, how we lay out. I'll watch as much video as I can. Mm-hmm. And then let's say I was going to this race with a totally new driver, totally new team. I'll watch that driver's past performances on, just what he's done the last couple of races. As I say, I always try to mold myself to what he needs. And that's in the back of my mind. The last thing I want to be is be a deterrent to what they're doing, right? I'm trying to get in and mold not only with the driver, but with the team, the crew chief, and just try to be a positive to the whole program.
Mm-hmm. What in all the different levels that you've worked, where do you like the most?
As how I enjoy it, like the series I like to do the most.
Yeah.
I still say used to be the NASCAR Pinty Series, when that's NASCAR Canada now. I still enjoy doing those races.
Yeah.
And I also like doing I get the opportunity the odd time to do, if I'm off, a Friday night in Delaware.
Yeah.
I love going down
where
there.
The roots are.
And exactly. And going down and doing the race and just being able to come home after. You know what I'm saying? It's not. We're not in any airports. We're not in cars for hours or anything like that.
For the time that it took you, we'll use airports as your level.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to airport level where you're flying here, there, and everywhere?
It's kind of interesting because a lot of that we probably should have been flying, but I'll use one example and using another guy that. In our younger days, Chris McLeod, from the radio station. So him and I will still joke about this. He used to come with me the odd time. So we raced in Florida. We left here at noon. Yeah. We drove straight through. We got to Florida in the morning. We raced that night. We got to the hotel room at 3 Saturday night / Sunday morning, and we started heading home. And then we were back at Bloomfield Road like 11 o'clock Sunday night, Monday morning. Like, there was a lot of stuff we should have flown to, but we didn't. So to answer that kind of directly, it's a little bit tough because there's a lot of stuff we probably should have.
Yeah. Okay, when did it turn into a full-time gig for you?
I would say probably officially to say kind of a full-time thing. The last few years, I guess probably the last 4 to 5. I guess once, I got everything done with getting my visa to be able to work in the U.S., because all the stuff is in the U.S., I guess that's the first official way or official time that I would consider that. Funny story so the very first 500 I ever worked with was James Hinchcliffe, and which ended up being his last Indy 500. So we got talking. Of course, other people when they get talking about racing, I was more interested in is being a Canadian. Moved down. Okay, who's your lawyer? Who'd you use? So anyway, so he set me up with his attorney, and he said he's good. It's not cheap. It's not good. I said, well, I don't want any problems. Let's just do this right. So, so I've used them, and now I'm referring him to other drivers. Cool. Now that because that's
building
exactly
the network is so important.
It is. Yeah, it really is. So yeah, I guess once I was done with that, I guess that's kind of now where we're consider it more of a full time. But even aside from that, like I still say it's our Monday to Friday gig is. My wife and I own a logistics company. Okay. And so we sell exclusively for a big carrier out of Toronto. Okay. So, we've been doing that for 15 years now. No kidding. Yeah. I think when I first started on, they might have had maybe 60 trucks, and I think we're getting close to 400 now, right? Oh, so wow. It's really expanded. So I kind of explored and opened up the Mexico market for them. And at that time, there were very few carriers that would go straight through back and forth without a transload at the border. So right now, that's morphed into, that's kind of our everyday gig. I wouldn't say Monday to Friday because we do primarily food products. So food's always going. Yeah. So, my wife will look after the day-to-day operations when I'm on the road. That kind of frees me up to do whatever on the race side, and then I'll try to tackle stuff.
How often are you gone on the race?
So, this week's been a little bit busy because I did that test, but normally Thursday will be a travel day, and then we're on track Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I always try, depending on how far we're away. I always try to fly out back home the same day. Some days we can't. Like when we do I was in California 2 weeks ago. I had to wait till the Monday, and not this weekend coming up because I'm in Virginia, but the week after we were in Long Beach. Yeah. And I can't get a flight back out. But we always try to come home Sunday night. Yeah. Yeah, and then be home Monday through Thursday, and that's a kind of a typical week, I guess.
How is it to balance one job to the other job?
Without my wife Mandy doing it, it would almost be impossible. Yeah. Because she really does do an excellent job with awesome. On the freight side of stuff. Yeah. When it gets into like a major problem or when we do negotiation of rates and stuff like that, I'll do it. Yep. But the day-to-day operations of booking loads and booking delivery appointments and stuff like that, and data entry. She's so good at data entry that she doesn't even let me near the computer anymore because I'm so slow.
You wrecked the process.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I go to do something. She's like, I hear the printer going off. She's already got it done. Yeah. So it works out really, really, really good that way. So yeah, it's a balance, and yeah, we're finding a way to make it work.
Was it ever a time where it was looked at just as a hobby, and you're trying to keep this here while you kept this here, and it just kept spewing in?
Yes.
And it caused you trouble?
Look, when you're in it, you don't realize it. Yeah. But looking back, you can see things getting a little busier, a little busier, a little busier, a little busier. You're 100% right. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't see it kind of that window closing. Like years ago, once January, February, March, and even sometimes April, you're waiting. I can't wait for race season to start. Yeah. Now we're ending the second week of December, and we start back up the second week of January at the Rolex in Daytona. So
There's no chill.
there is no chill. I was just seeing a thing that that I was talking about last night, and I made a post, let the 3-week off season begin. And that was for this year. So again, I'm not complaining or anything. I'm very fortunate what I'm doing, but I guess the last few years, and I'll always say it after my father passed away, is do things while you can.
Yeah.
Because there's going to become a time that you're not going to be able to do it.
Right. 100%.
So I am very adamant of having that approach on a lot of things, and I'll say that to my wife. You want to do that? Go ahead. She wanted to buy a Navigator.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive. Do you want it?
Go do it.
Go do it. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, do it.
I mean, it seems like how long have you guys been married?
We have been married. I have to cut this out. I'm going to say 8 years.
So she's been
Yes.
supporting this the whole time.
Oh, yes.
And that's one of the best things about this.
One of the funny things, I met her. She worked for NASCAR.
Come on.
She was an official in the NASCAR Canadian. She was the series coordinator.
Yeah.
So
well, no wonder she's running the business so well.
So she was the series coordinator for the Penny Series up here in Canada, and that's how we met at the track. So long story short is, here we are. We're married, and her boss at the time now is the series director for Cup. And which is the highest level. And when I see him, I'll always thank him. Hey, thanks for giving me Mandy and let her go. So I've got her now.
Your life.
Yeah, it's really.
How long has it been since you've been a part of the Buxton?
So that's officially was the last was 07, 08. But I have come back to do the race director part on some of the bigger races on previous ownerships. And the last time was when they had the Brett Rio Memorial.
Okay.
The family wanted to know if I would come and because it was a big race for Brett, if I would come back to be the race director. So I was honored to do that, and I of course obliged and did it. So I guess that would be 3 years ago was the last time that I've really been officially out there in a capacity of that sense.
Yeah. So for selfish reasons.
Yes.
Because you mentioned working with my grandfather.
Yes.
You got any good stories for me?
So absolutely. So back in the day, like we mentioned, I ran it, promoted, did everything. So one of the aspects of it in dirt track is track prep. We did more hours track prep than than anything else, whether it would be stock in a canteen, schedules, whatever. Track prep was always the most. So I'm not a heavy equipment guy.
Yeah.
So Scott Hucko, that owned it at the time, he also knew your grandfather. So he would come out we did Tuesday, depending on what we did. Every Tuesday or Wednesday, him and the dog would always be in the back.
Yep.
And he would come and grade the track every week.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of funny because the dog would just run behind him. The dog, I don't know how many miles the dog would run. And then a lot of times when it was hot and your grandpa would get mad, the dog would jump in the pond. And I can't remember the dog's name. I used to laugh. He just would shake his head. But it was really good. And beyond that, he started showing me some stuff. Like I got to the point that I could do the driveways, I could do anything flat, right? I could windrow it up and then feather it back. That was fine. But when it got to doing the bankings and stuff like that, I didn't ever want to get into that.
Yeah.
But he also showed me a lot on the heavy equipment stuff as far as the grader. Like, that was the only thing that he ran. Like I did everything else. But he also showed me the stuff to do on the parking lot side of stuff.
I can remember because I had worked for Grandpa a few different times. We did the golf courses, and then when he finally retired, this was the retirement job for him. And this was his heyday.
Yeah.
He loved doing that job more than anything else. And it was so cool to see him in in his spot there? Because and he would make it out to the races and
Well, I think that was him and Scott had a deal. I don't know. I think he gave he gave him so many passes or whatever he needed. Actually, it was kind of just a trade off. But no, it was every week we'd do our thing and then kind of shoot the shit afterwards and go on our way. But
Off Gone was good for a story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so was Harley.
Uncle Harley, HJ.
I worked with Harley here when it was Liquid Carbonics here in town, and he'd have some good stories. He loved going to see the horses, everyone had a name.
Yeah.
Everyone had a name, and there was some pretty good names that I can't repeat, but they were funny. So I had a real good time. I did the gases that went to like the hospitals and stuff.
Yeah.
I did the hospital stuff. So we had a pretty good time with him as well.
Old Uncle HJ. Both good men.
Oh, yes.
R.I.P. gentlemen. So
Yeah, absolutely. Good people.
What's the is there an angle, or are you at the coolest part and you're just enjoying it?
Well, I guess I've kind of got into this open wheel IndyCar sector, and there, years ago there wasn't a lot of back and forth. I really enjoy it, and I really respect the people that are in it, and it's kind of funny, and I'll tell this story that there's been a couple of years we've come close to winning that race, and it wasn't too long ago that after we were pretty close, that I sat with just on off to the side with the strategist, or guys on the NASCAR side would be the crew chief, and just kind of looked at me like you and I are talking, and kind of teared up a little bit, and he just said to me, he says, "I don't know how many more years I've got to win this race," and that really hit me. Coming from a guy that I really look up to and is a very accomplished guy within the sport, but within himself, he judges his career based on whether he wins that race or not, and that really hit me. Now, how big this really is to people, and it is rightfully so.
100%.
And I have said this to so many people. That is one event that I could tell you stories and stuff that I've seen there. But to truly go there and to experience it, I can't explain it.
I was gonna say,
and I've been to a lot of different events, and that is one alone that is just crazy how people respect that race and go to that race, and a lot of families and fans will book their vacations around there.
Yeah.
And just even a test, so in a couple of weeks we'll have an open test. And they won't open up the grandstands, but there's a hill off of turn 2, and people will come there and and it's just single car runs. It's just people go crazy. And then as we practice every day leading up to the event, we typically go at like 7 in the morning and be there ready. Usually we're not on till like 9. People are already walking from like a mile carrying
the
their stuff.
race car
It's
fan is a total different fandom than any other sport.
One of the things that I remember, my very first race was usually if you hear the crowd over your headset, there's something big going on, and I heard the crowd, and we're standing over the crowd. I'm in turn 3, so we're up, I don't know, maybe 20 feet higher than the crowd. I heard the crowd, and I could, according to my people staying up, I'm thinking there's a wreck. Well, it just happened to be a pass for the lead. They're just very into it, and it's which is great.
Yeah. Every time I watch, I'm always like, holy crow, these are massive crowds.
They're crazy.
It's even what they're pulling on TV every week.
Well, not only that, at Indy, there's also a concert going on the inside. There's a full-blown concert going on the inside. So it's kind of funny when the race is going on, and, I've always been in turn 3, right, the area where the concert is. There's pyrotechnics going off, and there's stuff going, and we got a race going on. But
how are you supposed to focus?
Well, yeah, it does. At first, it really does kind of catch your eye.
Obviously, now got it drowned right out. And
Yeah,
the laser focus that anybody in racing period, right from the driver up to the amount of focus is not for.
It's not, and I usually when I put my headset on, I usually don't like talk with anyone. Before then, we all there's a whole group of spotters that travel, so it's always good to see guys you haven't seen in a while. And I always like cutting up and whatever, but usually once I get my headset on, I usually don't like talking to anyone. I'm just kind of
You're in your zone.
I'd like to be set, and I don't like to be, and that's even when it comes down to cautions. Like a lot of times on a race, guys will kind of let their guard down on a caution, but that's when some of the stupid stuff will happen.
Yeah.
You'll have a guy that could be a free pass or whatever coming. You can never let your guard down anytime the car's moving.
That checks. What in 30 years? Mm-hmm. Do you have like one moment that just stands out the most?
There's been a couple. I guess there's going to be three. I'm going to give you three. The first one was, if anyone that has watched the truck series, my very first one was the Spencer Gallagher. Gosh, I can't think of his name. They got into a fight down in turn one, and I kind of remembered, another one of those. I took my headset off. I heard the crowd. This guy took us out and whatever. And the crowd, I took my headset off. I heard the crowd going wild. I happened to look. Holy shit! Something. Put my headset and get my binoculars back out, and they're fighting down there. I just said to the crew chief, I said, "You watching this shit down in one?" "Oh yeah, we are." I said, "All right, I'll watch to see if any crew guys get involved." And there wasn't. But my phone blew up over that. That was John West Townley was the driver. So Spencer Gallagher and John West Townley. A lot will remember that that little tussle.
That's amazing.
The other one was with Kyle Steckley when we won Anderson this past year, the ASA race. That's always good to get the first win on the ASA side and on the American side. The other, actually, there's going to be four total.
I can appreciate that.
My very first truck win in Texas with Johnny Sauter. That was, I was pretty happy over that, and to be able to win in any of NASCAR's top three national touring series. I was that was also, and I guess the last one was my very first ever championship with Jason Hathaway in the NASCAR Penny Series. I've never, up to, that was 2020. I've never won any type of a championship because I bounced around, right? I kind of freelanced and kind of went everywhere. That was my very first championship. So
what would that do to you? Build the confidence level, bring things to a different level?
It was during COVID and there wasn't a lot of people there, so really, it was almost like, someone said at when I won my first truck race, "So what'd you do to celebrate?" Went to the Waffle House, went back to the hotel, slept, and flew home in the morning. There wasn't anything really
to do.
Because I travel by myself and I just do my own thing. And,
yeah. So the celebration, what you do, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's just, we get ready for the next one.
You've been collecting any memorabilia over the years?
Oh yeah, I've got some champagne bottles at home that I've been able to get from Victor Lane.
Yeah.
I always collect my hard cards.
Yeah.
And then any kind of like parking passes or any type of stuff like that. The other thing that I've done is I've done some of my crew uniforms in shadow boxes.
That's cool.
So I've got a lot of shadow boxes now with different crew uniforms.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you before what your favorite memorabilia piece was. I just assumed, I was like, you have to make some sort of collection to have a memory of
it's
all
funny, and my wife gives me the years about it all the time. So we had to, in one of the spare bedrooms now is my racing closet.
Yeah.
Because I do get so much stuff that it's just all my racing stuff in there.
You'll have to upgrade the house to it.
It's so we did a big long, I don't know how many rod, just to hang stuff. At that time, we'll never fill this. It's just about full. It's just about full. But yeah, I like holding on to stuff like that, and she started doing like 3 or 4. She'll fold up, and just the logos are folded up in the shadow box.
Yeah.
So we've got, I don't know, 4 done so far, but
That's amazing.
we're ready to do another.
I think we have to revisit this conversation later in this year to see how far you came and what all happened.
Yeah,
because I love that conversation too.
We're just starting to get into it now. It's just looking at the schedule. I've had 2 weekends off, which has been nice since the middle of January. So now we're really going to start to get into the meat and potatoes of the year, and it'll go all the way through the summer. Sometimes when I'm sitting on an airport, I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? I'm just home for a couple of days and I'm gone again. And I guess if you don't like living out of a suitcase and going here and going there, this probably isn't something that you want to do. Because I know it's many times I'll come out of a hotel room with, shit, where am I? You know what I'm saying? Where's the elevator from here? It's just because you're just in and out of so many places.
It really seems like such a cool dream, though.
It is, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do it. And when I say any of that stuff, I'm not saying anything,
No. I get you.
negative about it. It's just,
it's a lot.
It is a lot, and I've been able to, obviously been able to position myself with the A gig, which is our logistics company. But yeah, it's a lot.
I can imagine. I was looking at some of your videos and I was trying to prepare. I was like, this guy is never home. Like, I seen that you just flew in.
Yeah, I just flew in yesterday, and then
yesterday.
As I say, I did the conference call last night to prepare for this weekend, and then before I come over, I'm getting my radios charged. So, being a freelance, like I bring everything on my own. I carry my own gear. I carry 8 radios, 2 headsets, everything that goes along with it. When I show up, I'm there with my own stuff. I'm ready to go.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but you have to be that way, or I think if it's
doesn't make you valuable if you
correct. Yeah, if you're not, and it's like anything, if you're not fully prepared, and it's not a gig that you want to do on the fly.
No, I can't imagine.
No, yes, it's not, but it's always going. And then once I'm done in Virginia, then I'm home for a couple of days, and then we leave for Long Beach, California for, back on the IndyCar side, and then we'll go out and do that one. So
that's amazing.
It's
mean,
crazy.
In my head, minus the work, I'm like, oh man, what a cool trip. But you don't get to see anything except for the inside of a couple different rooms.
Couple different rooms. Yeah, like you don't. It's definitely
not a party.
It's not a party, and it's not a holiday.
No.
And it's long days at track. You get up real early, and I'm not a morning guy whatsoever. You get up really early, and you're usually at the track 12, 14 hours. The only, if there is any fun time, is having dinner with the guys.
Yeah.
And it's right to the back to the room and repeat.
So it's not all this.
No, and then
That's the thing that people don't understand.
Yeah, and then either you race and leave directly to the airport, or you go back, you sleep, and then leave directly to the airport.
Just fighting time zones and
it
temperature
is,
change.
Yes,
and,
the temperature change is also.
That would totally mess with you.
Yeah, it was when we were in Thermal Club out in Palm Springs a couple of weeks ago. It was like 98 degrees. Holy shit. And then you come back here and it's freezing. So
Well, it could be like yesterday freezing. Then today I was in shorts and a t-shirt biking.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Gutler.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
This was amazing.